Well, welcome back to another video. Today's video, as you may be able to see, is to do with a CEN Fun Factor MT2. That's what this is. This actually belongs to a neighbour of mine. He's seen my videos and he said, do you think you could help me get this thing going? I think one of his friends or family found it lying in a shed or a garage, and just give it to him. Now he has a young son, he's busting to have a go with it. So I'm going to see if I can get it up and running. First problem I came across was the transmitter. Must have been left with batteries in it. I did put batteries in it. It doesn't work, so we'll have to bin that. And what I did find on the shelf behind me, where I have all old transmitters, it still uses crystals, but it's a pistol type radio with a battery which I have just charged. Found a receiver that'll hopefully work. So let's get it all put together and see if we can get it to go. I've already had a quick look at it. It does need a steering servo. The one that's on it is pretty much rubbish. Needs an air filter because the air filter has just started to totally disintegrate. I've got a couple of glow plugs and some fresh, is it the 16 fuel. So let's get the camera turned around, we'll get the cover off it, and let's see if we can get it going. You need to excuse my wife.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously darling. The first time I go to record a video in here in probably months, my wife gets out the saw and the DIY tools and starts to cut wood and kerfuffle around. So, would you like to see her? Say hello to everybody.
Stop it.
Say hello.
Stop it.
Say hello.
You better cut that.
Right, so first things first. Let's look at what we have. And what we do have is a very weak steering servo. An absolutely manky filter. Let's pop the air filter off. I must add, I have actually had this going, so that's why I'm not rushing. You'll see already I've had nitro fuel in it. I fired it up just quickly and give it a wee 2-second run round the back garden, so I do know the engine fires up. I do know the clutch is working. I do know everything's fine. I know that the pipework is clear, the carb is cleaned, but all I need to do is get this new air filter screwed on. So we need to get ourselves some air filter oil, because these will stop a certain amount of dust, but the oil that's in them stops any dust. The dust will actually stick to the air filter oil. So let me go and grab some air filter oil, we'll get this stuck on, and then we'll try and get the servo in. Little drop of filter oil goes a long way. There we go. One filter ready to fit. All it holds this on is a couple of cable ties, or zip ties for you Americans. So just to recap, I have already cleaned out the lines, cleaned out the carb, made sure it was a compression, put a new glow plug in it to test it. Everything was working, but the steering servo was very weak. I did give the guy an option to fit in another throttle and brake servo, but it's only for his kid. He wasn't too bothered about that. So let's go ahead and see if I can get the steering servo swapped in Kevin Talbot style. Maybe we can do the boom and get it done, but I don't know how he does it. That doesn't work, so I'm just going to have to go for the conventional method. It really doesn't look like this thing has done a lot of I've done a lot of work. Oil filled shocks at each corner that all have oil in them, and we actually have a Sanwa receiver in here. I see this one's 27 megahertz, so this one probably won't work. So let's go for the full receiver swap. And we'll have one to turn, so we'll not need to put that back in to the burn. We'll put a fresh set of batteries in. We'll file the wee bit off the red plug to get it in there. We'll have it switched on and a battery in the transmitter, and we'll have steering, we'll have throttle and brakes. But we're going to get rid of the steering servo and put in this little Savox that we'll have here now. So thanks to Renix Model Train for supplying all the parts, by the way. So let's get to it. Let's get this switched off, get the servo swapped out, and we'll get this over to the closest car park and we'll take her for a rip. Right, that's us about ready to put fuel in it. We'll have the servo in, and obviously before you connect the servo horn, you want to power up the servo. Make sure your radio is centralized, the trims, and that'll give you a position to let you put your servo horn on, and your steering should be pretty straight like that is. Let me just turn the radio on, turn the truck on. I have full right steering, full left steering, and as always when doing the steering, set your end points so that when you go fully left, the steering servo isn't under strain. When you do that, that will ensure that your servo will last a bit longer. All we need to do now is put a drop of fuel in and see if we can get the thing to start up. What I always like to do to get these started bleeding up to save priming all the time, I pull the pipe off the exhaust and blow into it, and that'll push any fuel up the fuel line to the carb. Want to make sure it's coming out. That's where primed up to the pipe. That's just before we start it up. We'll check our glow plug to make sure it's glowing, which it is, and we should be ready to fire it up. Let's see what happens. We have life, we have life. And that's us, ready to rock and roll. And we'll have life for the first time in years. Brakes aren't great. Well, what do you know, the GoPro battery went flat just as I was tuning the little engine, but it did get it running perfectly. Let's skip to a few days later when Dave brought his young son round, and we'll let him actually have his first ever go with a Nitro RC car. You know what I'd be doing that, but I wouldn't want to tell him the record. I'd be straight over that jump like.
Oh, he's pretty fucking good. That's why he likes coming around here.
Right.
I told me how to be careful with this one. But...
Yeah. Well, as you can see, it was running a little bit rich. When I was using it, I was running it flat out and had it set up for top speed. So we just dialed it back a wee bit with the needle. I showed Dave what to do to lean it out a bit and how to change it once Jude gets a bit quicker with it. But I think you'll agree, that's one happy chappy there. So we'll leave this video here. I'll catch you in the next one. Who knows what I'll be doing, but stay tuned, folks. Don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I shall see you guys in the next one.